Yeah, I'm privy to portions of that, and you're right. They have no, as we know physics, they have no pattern to them, so no mathematical pattern, and neither do these objects that are in our solar system at the moment.
Just
can I throw a question to you?
Yes.
Okay. Back in June of last year, there was the largest gamma ray burst ever recorded by scientists that occurred while they were convening in Denver, and it was Earth-directed. It was emanating from the black hole in the burster Markarian 421, and that gamma ray burst, again, was Earth-directed. Do you see any correlation between that event and the movement of these objects coming towards Earth, or any relation to the energy that's involved?
Well, one of them in particular would have been, it would appear it was affected regarding its movement with the Markarian incident. So, but just with one object. The rest just ignored it. But with one object, there appeared to be some trajectory changes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, on that change you're talking about, did they? Was it during one of these events, and in which direction was the change, or was that noted?
No, I know there's a change. There was a change as far as directions. I really can't pinpoint. I really can't pinpoint anything. I can't do that. But it did affect one of the objects, or one of the objects did in fact react to it. That's a very large. That's a very gamma rays are both deadly, but the energy from a gamma ray can be very useful in many different fields of study. And this object it could have gone one way or the other. It could have been affected by the gamma ray. It could have reacted somehow, or it could have avoided it or harnessed it. We don't know. We just know that it did in fact affect it.
Do you find it rather curious that it was Earth-directed and at such a specific time?
Yes, and I also find it curious that around that same time was these objects have begun to alter. Our position in the solar system is we won't be in this position for a very long time, far beyond our lifetimes. But our position and what is coming up to our south and other variables that you add in for gamma ray burst to, kind of mingle with that timing in these situations, I found that extremely odd indeed.
Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit, to use an old phraseology, being an old guy. My book utilizes that gamma ray burst to open a portal, and it's a work of fiction. However, that's where I was led to, and I find what you're saying to be confirmation of what essentially was a work of fiction.
Well, as I said before, gamma rays, if the energy, and I'll use a lot of hypotheticals, guys, not hypothetically meaning they're wrong, but I have to keep things plausible for my own safety. But the energy that can be harnessed from a gamma ray is enormous. It's just simply enormous. And if that were the fact, then that energy could have been captured to be used at a later time, or at a specific moment in time, or it could have accomplished what it was set out to do. Now, Earth and the Earth and the bodies around it, essentially, they can act like a very large capacitor, storing energy up, and it only takes the proper circuitry to release that energy.
Bingo.
Now that we have more objects coming into the solar system, it would appear that one of these objects, or the magnetic object in particular, could in fact be that key, and things may be timed around it.
Exactly. If you hit it right on the mark, you get a gold star.
That's a very good, and that was in your book. That's interesting. That is that's very good. Very good. Very good indeed.
Timing, guys.
Jesse, you better jump in here.
Well, I was just going to say, you're talking about timing, and we've talked about entering this 13,000-year half cycle of going into the galactic ecliptic, Michael. And from what I've read about this, is that's when you're going to be the most susceptible to an energy burst. Also, debris, which we talked about before, I think it's every 26,000 years we make that rotation. But that timing, these scientists know of that exact moment when that center is reached, but they wouldn't know of say, a gamma ray burst unless they knew that it was a constant burst being emitted as we cross that point. You see what I'm saying? That timing, it seems to be along with this crossing of the galactic ecliptic.
Yeah. Well, they do know the timing. They have, like I said before, the industrial complex physics are different from public physics. And it takes an individual to do his or her own research, to work through their own set of numbers and run simulations and so forth to find out that they've been, led down the wrong path. Some of the impossibilities in the theorized formulas in physics don't stand up. They don't work. However, not everybody has studied enough to find that out. So they perpetuate things so that people think a portion of science is impossible. But I assure you that the military-industrial complex does not. In fact, they use things all the time that the general population deems impossible.
Right. They would have to know that time, I guess through satellite instrumentation, even from the outer edges of the solar system, they would detect this gamma ray burst before it happened and say, well, we need to turn on or have the machines ready for this or whatever, pick this energy up. That we've got outer probes that have went all the way out to our heliopauls to see that bow shock effect there. But that seems like a probe, an observation probe, in the sense of this energy burst.
Can I jump in real quick just to help both of you out real quick? Let's go back to the conference that was taking place in Denver, which is just the location itself rings a lot of bells and raises flags. But during the conference, they already had most of their instruments, their satellites and ground-based instruments, pointed at Markarian 421 before the burst even emanated from the black hole. That alone tells you that they knew that this was going to take place due to the buildup of energies within the black hole itself. So I'll back out and let you go.
Yeah, they did.
They knew that they were pointed. They knew this was coming, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, if you were going to tap into an energy source, I'd say that would probably be one of the strongest you could get.
Well, like I said, you're dealing, a capacitor can store whatever it goes into it.
Right.
That's the job of a capacitor, to store energy and release it based on whatever the circuitry is. Well, if we are essentially a huge capacitor, then whatever energies they wanted to store, they got it with that one gamma ray. They're just waiting with the key. A gamma ray is extremely powerful.
Yep.
It's just extremely powerful. And
it was the largest ever recorded.
Yeah, so that's like, 1 second of a gamma ray burst is, I can't even make an equivalency of the energy. It could set everybody free with energy forever, probably. But that's how much energy is in a gamma ray, if they could harness it.
Right. I hope they got a good fuse box, because they're going to need it. But like you said, we were talking about earlier, you only have to tap into like an inductive coil. You can adjust a coil system to just pull off certain portions of energy. You know how you can divide voltage and things like that through a coil system. I know there have to be planning for the overload, and to be able, but I'm not sure it's kind of like the nuclear bombs. Are they sure they know how much energy they're dealing with? And
how about Michael? How about the atmosphere being laced with aluminum and chemtrails? Correlation, tie-in, fuse, fusible weight.
Absolutely. You're essentially look, they've turned Earth. Just to make it simple, they have turned Earth into a component. They've turned it into an electronic component, of which goes with the rest of the technology that is both above the stratosphere and so forth, the atmosphere, and on the surface of the Earth and inside the Earth. Now, they have the perfect protective shells underneath the Earth.